Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Keeping It Real with Bernie. This podcast is really inspired by the many people that I meet in everything that I do in Sengkang and just in life in general. And tonight I have a very special guest, Sheryl Alexis Koh, a good friend of mine who actually also works as a financial advisor with Manulife. And we got to know each other because we're from the same alumni. Welcome, Sheryl.
Thanks for having me, Bunny.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So Sheryl, could you just share with us a little bit about yourself so everyone can also get to know you?
I'm Sheryl. I'm a mother of two, and right now I'm a financial planner. So I work with different families and help them to manage their finances. Yeah.
Thank you. And Sheryl, I read about your story in the Straits Times, and I felt that it was super impactful, and that women all over Singapore would probably love to learn a little bit about you and maybe even take a leaf out of your book. So maybe, I could start by sharing with everyone that you had been through a divorce some years ago. So, I mean, when you came to that decision, that very hard decision that you had to leave, what were the more immediate things that were on your mind that you really had to find yourself to get ready for?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was, am I ready to take on, as a single parent, to look after my daughter? Right?
Yeah. So was it things like accommodation and...
Yes, so accommodation was the big question in my mind because my parents were not in Singapore. They were living in China back then. I was living with my in-laws, so we did not even have a property of our own. Yeah, so I had to scramble, I had to find the cheapest place or the most conducive place for my daughter and make sure she's also comfortable living in that situation without her dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, could you share with us, why it was so stressful for you? I mean, I read that you were quite out of your depth because, of also, the amounts you had, in your personal accounts. What was the situation really, the really raw situation?
Yeah, so when I first found out, I immediately looked at my bank account and then I realized I do not even have enough for a full year's of rent. Maybe half a year, and then that's it. And what's next? What's going to happen to me and my daughter, right? Yeah. I think when I decided to leave the marriage, I also wanted to ensure my daughter continues being in the same environment, the same school that she's so privileged to be in from the start, and I wanted her to continue to be in that school. So
to
things
just kind
like
of
that,
keep things stable for her, right?
keep things stable, keep things BAU, and ensure nothing has really changed that much for her as much as I can. Yeah, but it was tough. I mean, financially, I had to really relook into my spending, maybe not buy so many clothes. I cancelled my gym memberships, things like that. Because honestly, back then, I was also spending very frivolously, right? I didn't think something like that would happen ever in my life or to my marriage.
Yeah.
And I did not think, maybe I should start saving more.
Yeah. And was there a kind of dynamic between you and in your previous marriage, where, the money practices, kind of affected, that situation that you found yourself in? And what would you hope that other women, would be able to learn from hearing your story?
Yeah, I think we kind of work things in silo, we didn't really work as a team. So even when it comes to finances, even though I was very lucky enough to have him pay for most of the expenses back then, I did not even spare a thought of, how much I should save on my own. Yeah, but on hindsight, when I reflect and I look back, I should have at least, 6 to 8 months of my own salary as emergency savings. That would be a more comfortable amount for me.
Yeah, that would be like a rainy day
Yes,
fund.
like a rainy day fund. Yeah, so I think I really changed a lot through the entire divorce because I learned how to be independent. I learned how to start saving for myself. And I think nowadays when you look at your local bank apps, it's quite easy to start small, right? You just set a little goal for yourself, key in whatever budget you have, and you can just immediately auto credit into this special savings account that you have. Yeah, so that forces you to do something disciplined.
Right. So, if you don't mind me taking you back, to when it all happened for you, what were the most important things, that you needed to get in order? So that the women out there who are hearing this would be able to apply it to their own situations.
I think the main issues were I did not know what was my right as a woman, as a mother in Singapore. I think I was very oblivious to the fact that, there's a women's charter, there's so much support behind women in Singapore. I just immediately felt very pessimistic about the whole situation. I thought my ex-husband was going to take my daughter away from me financially or with whatever means that he could, because he had a higher earning capability than me back then. Yeah, so that was my biggest fear. So I think when someone is put in that situation, I guess you need to go seek a lawyer, seek any legal help that you can find. Of course, it's going to be expensive. But I think there's different ways where I think the government, different channels that can help
legal
you.
aid as well.
Yeah.
So this women's charter, like how does it actually apply? For people who don't know about what the women's charter is, how does it actually help women in Singapore?
I mean, because when you Google, you look through the articles, you realize that no man is able to just remove a child from a mother just like that, right? There are certain steps that you need to go through. And care and control is one thing. And I think there's also custody. So I think that there's two separate objectives that your lawyer will try to achieve for you, right?
Yeah.
And I guess going through a divorce, it doesn't have to be a painful process. I mean, if both adults have decided, okay, maybe this is the best way for both of you, you can always sit down amicably and discuss things openly, like what is going to be best for your child if things does not work between two adults or two parents. There's also a way to co-parent very amicably and happily as well.
I mean, I'd like to go back to your point about how no one, who gets married actually desires to end up in a divorce, right? But, there must be something that, you have learned through this entire process. And thank you for being so courageous to be able to speak so openly about it. I'd just like to pick your brain on that, what is it, that you think a woman, should be mindful of in the dynamic with her spouse, in, her own money habits, money practices, what should we try to achieve, so that we can have better conversations, and a better way to actually run the family.
Yeah, so I mean, now I've remarried, I'm in a new marriage, and I think it's very, very different how we handle finances and how we talk about this kind of conversations openly. So I guess you really need to broach the topic maturely, right? Because it's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect your expenses, right? It's not something that you should avoid. Like, okay, don't talk to me about money. I feel very stressed. Yeah, but on hindsight, you should really sit down together as a couple, maybe once a month, or have a fixed habit. Like, okay, every month I'm going to contribute this amount. You are going to contribute that amount. Is this going to be enough for the family? So this is what I'm doing with my new husband right now, and I think it's worked quite well. Versus, in the past, I had no clue how much savings my ex-husband has. He does not want to share. He has investments behind him. I do not know how much he has. So I felt like he was always hiding something. Yeah.
So openness and transparency actually gives a bit more of an equal playing field, would you say?
Yes, yeah. So I think it also gives husband a lot of trust and support to women out there that, hey, if you're actually interested in things like investments in stocks and crypto, maybe I can talk to you more about it rather than I talk to my bros about it, right? And I think they'll also feel that, financially, you are also capable to, buy something wisely with your own money or with our money.
I mean, there are so many financial instruments out there, you know, and I think the world is changing at a rapid pace. Lots of women in Singapore are probably very interested in these topics too, because in Singapore we are raised in a society where boys and girls, are raised to believe, that they are equally capable.
Exactly.
Right? There's no glass ceiling there, or at least we don't want there to be, even in organizations. And that's why, for me in the women's wing, as the head of safety and respect, it's a very interesting thing, to be able to see how many different stakeholders actually contribute to creating like a playing field where women are actually capable of making the choice, to pursue the same dreams as maybe a boy would have, right? But, at the same time, I go back, to a fundamental that, women are also the ones in the family who actually have children. I mean, we both have two kids of similar ages. And I think, a lot of the time, sometimes we don't expect, to fall in love, with our children so much that women, are probably very tempted, to give up, their careers to be with their kids, right? Especially in the very foundational years. So was there anything, in your takeaways from having to really grapple with these issues where women, who step out, maybe they don't have any more earning power, how do they actually command, their partner's respect? So that, in the long run, that respect eventually makes them safe in their marriage, right? I think, when we talk about safety and respect, they're actually very intrinsically linked.
Yeah, so I really like what you mentioned about equal level playing field, because I see that a lot in today's world. I mean, I talk to a lot of families, I talk to a lot of couples, and it's true, like what you mentioned. I feel that when women are more interested or more financially savvy or keen to learn more about their finances, I think the husbands also respect them a lot more. Versus another couple where, the wife just takes a back seat and the husband is the one as the main driver or the main lead in their finances. I feel that they kind of lose a bit of their respect from the husbands, unfortunately. So I really urge women to, I mean, we're very blessed in this day and age. We have so much resources online. A lot of women have also been very interested to learn more about how they can grow their money. It's not just the men taking over the world anymore. It's also us, right?
And I think that, that equality is something that we really want to preserve in Singapore. And, keeping our fingers on the pulse of what's going on is really important because things are changing so rapidly, right? So, for example, in this financial space, when we talk about, the need for equality, it's really also a transition, from what was traditionally the norm.
Yes, definitely.
But neither do I want, our young girls, who eventually grow up to be mothers like us, to be shortchanged of that opportunity to actually have their children, maybe even have some more time with their children, at critical moments in their lives. So that's why I personally believe that it's so important to be able to pinpoint like what an ideal dynamic between husband and wife should be. So that, as you do your role as a mom, you actually also still preserve like a kind of dynamic with your husband where you still get credit for playing that very maternal role. And sometimes that role, is one, where it's taken for granted because, we handle all the small little very minute details of a day, like bringing a child to school and picking them back home. But the conversations to school and from school are so priceless, right?
So I think women need to really take charge nowadays because we are both parents, right? Whether it's a husband and wife, right? So traditionally, it's always the dad that brings home the dough. But now it's 2026, right? Women are equally capable. Our earning power is also more or less the same. So I would urge women to, really sit down and have that conversation with their husband. Like, be interested in what he has to say. Don't let him be the one to manage the bills.
That sounds like a good starting point. I mean, even if it was unequal contributions, for example, if there could be a starting point where there is a discussion, there is openness and transparency, it could build something healthier in the long run, right? And we also see a lot of women who are actually like stepping away from the workforce to actually have their babies. In a way, like your reawakening, into financial literacy, that kind of is like you stepping back, into the workforce, right? How did you actually develop yourself in this area from not having that that intelligence, that
Yeah.
financial literacy to being able to actually do it professionally. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was tough. I mean, I've never seen myself as a financial girly from the start. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always in the marketing and comms industry.
And you do that very well too. I've seen you.
Yeah, so I think COVID actually helped. So I had the divorce right before COVID. But when COVID hit, I mean, there was lockdown, everyone was stuck at home, right? So instead of me frivolously just, doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatsoever, I found myself taking a more in-depth approach into what I want to learn. Because in my mind is, how can I provide for my daughter? How can I be a better mom to my daughter? I had to step up as a parent because there was no more husband in our home anymore. So I wanted to be better. I wanted to be financially stronger as well. So that's where I took the time during COVID to go through YouTube, find out as much financial info that I can, like things like how do I start saving, how do I reach my financial goals, and then things like dollar cost averaging podcast comes up, things like ETFs come up. So that's where I got very interested, right? And I say, hey, like there's so many people out there, there's so many women out there who are so eloquent or financially savvy. I can be like that too, because I want to be empowered, right? I want to earn my own money and be the one that takes care of my daughter. Yeah, so
I'm sure that was life-changing, when you
Yeah.
actually started, making money in that space, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, there are also a lot of women, who take a pause, and find it very difficult to actually come back to work because of all the caregiving responsibilities that they have. So what actually made you take the plunge, to take what you were learning from YouTube, and make that a reality? Because you could have stayed put, in your previous role.
Yes. I took the papers. When you take the insurance papers, there's probably like 7 or 8 papers that you have to go through. And it's all very technical.
It is. Yeah. I hear it's extremely challenging.
Yes, yeah. So you have to learn things like, options, the world of insurance and things like that, which was a whole new world for me. But I was determined that I wanted to start afresh. Yeah. So as I continued to read up more and more, I felt like, hey, I think this is something that I can really do for myself, and I can see a future in that. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Did that mean that you actually had to take a pause, to actually go through all this studying?
Oh yes. I mean, of course, I had to quit my previous job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's very taxing, right?
It
To actually
is,
study for
yeah.
this.
So when I had the divorce, I was also like moving house to somewhere else. In the midst of the move, I was also studying.
Wow.
I was burning the midnight oil. Then in the morning, I had to wake up early, take my daughter to school. So it was not easy. Yeah. But I put my trust in God.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think you're clearly in a very, very good space, very confident, and you also have a very supportive spouse, who understands, and supports and encourages you along this journey. So it's very, very, very heartening to see.
Thank you, thank you.
I know that I keep bringing you back to that, but when you were going through all of those challenges, right? Who were the people that you turned to the most for support?
Oh, I think it has to be my IJ girls. Yeah, I mean, I really fell into a very dark hole back then. My self-worth, my ego, everything was crushed, right? Like, I kept asking myself, is there any more meaning left to this? Yeah, but I think my girls, the support system I had from CHIJ, they really pulled me out from that and showed me the light, as cliche as that sounds.
Yeah. So keep your friends, very near and dear.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, okay. And how's life like right now?
Very good.
Come such a long way.
Yes, I'm now a mother of 2. So I have a son who is turning 4 this year.
Oh, wow, same age.
Yes, yeah. And my daughter is now turning 9.
Oh,
yeah.
lovely.
So things has been great. So I would say, like, thanks to this entire mid-career switch and I feel that I'm in a really good place right now because with this financial change, I have more flexibility with my kids as well. And of course, my earning capacity is also a bit higher, a bit more comfortable. So I'm really glad like I took the plunge and I have the courage to step up and make a change for myself.
It's really funny because just like a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
I got the quote from one of our ministers that
Yeah.
setbacks are setups sometimes, right?
Yeah, yes.
So I'm really so amazed, to see how thriving,
Yeah.
and, really appreciative that you're
Yeah.
here to share, your story, of survival with so many.
Thank you.
So Sheryl, if there was one thing you'd like to touch a woman who's watching this podcast with, what's that message that you have for her?
I think openness is very important in every relationship, and I think women should always take a proactive approach to be interested in what their husbands are looking at right now. So I mean, with social media, you can always gain more insights and knowledge. Things like finances, you can just share it with each other and have an open conversation. Like, hey, what do you think of this idea? Maybe you can start this routine in our family, right? So simple things like that. I think it's important.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sheryl, for this very powerful message and for inviting all our women watchers and listeners out there to start a conversation, and, make space for openness and transparency. I think that's going to go a long way.
Yes, I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to everyone watching this episode, I hope you found it interesting and useful. Stay tuned for the next episode of Keeping It Real with Bernie.